Hi, Achievers. Hi, I'm back with 23 books of 2023. Actually, recording this one in 2023 in Great Yarmouth. So, let me talk about the book. Now, it's based on a series back in the 1990s. This book actually came out in 1990. The Point series. There was Point Horror, Point Sci-Fi, Point Romance. A lot of them were written by R.L. Stein. But this one is set in the UK and it's by a man called David Belbin. And it says Point, not really come under category. Is this horror? Is this, I don't know what this is. I mean, this is it's basically it's espionage, but it has criminal elements in it. It's by David Belbin, who actually did, I do remember him writing a book called Avenging Angel, and with that, it spun into the Beat series about coppers, okay, about the police. I know, right. So David Belbin, Point, let me read the blurb. Here we go. For Rachel McGunn, moving to Derbyshire to step into the unknown, the landscape is bleak and unwelcoming, known for its harsh and unpredictable conditions. So when the fog comes down and the countryside disappears, they think nothing of it. But when their father disappears too, they realise there's more to the fog than meets the eye. Who can you trust to help them? Because when you can't see your hand in front of your face, you can't see danger either. Okay, cover illustration was by David Scrutt. This was £3.50. Okay, back in 1990. So anyway. So it opens up with this. This opens up at this research point, this research centre, right, at this weather station. And it starts on Christmas Day, a classic Christmas day. It has snowed and it was going to snow again. Walter Deakin stared out of the weather station window, wishing he was at home with the kids making a snowman in the garden. Or doubtless they were in front of the telly watching The Wizard of Oz or whatever was on this afternoon. It was hard to explain to them that he'd drawn the short straw this Christmas, harder to explain to his wife Elsie. But the worst thing was he had to share the duty with Stan Brown. Right, but espionage knocked out, shoved into a cupboard, and then they use this weather station to bring fog down on the entirety of the UK. This is what they do. So everywhere in the UK is surrounded by fog. All of it. Okay. Fog everywhere. So, okay, it's a little bit like, okay, I guess it's gonna happen. The thing is, we're a nation which get fog all the goddamn time. Okay, we're kind of used to it. So, hey, where I live is always foggy. Okay, it's like I think just 20 feet above sea level, so we get fog banks rolling in all the goddamn time. This is London, incidentally. Okay, one thing I did love though, okay, is when they're driving to Derbyshire because Rachel's dad is he's got this new job. He's listening to the radio, okay, and I love this, okay. Right, Dad, okay, it's REM, Pop Song 89, a classic. That's true, by the way. Rachel enjoyed the song by trying to decipher the chorus, which is about the government and the weather. Weird. But Dad loved old rock music. At home, he listened to all the stuff from the 70s. Springsteen, Sex Pistols, Steely Dan. We still do that now because they're great songs. Just not Springsteen. Most of it was just noise to Rachel. She stared ahead, trying to imagine a new life in Derbyshire, living in a cottage. She hadn't seen yet. Okay, so that's the thing. And also, one thing I found is that we just got this thing about Marilyn Monroe. Hey, Marilyn Monroe is a classic. Marilyn Monroe is just fantastic, wonderful actress, wonderful civil rights activist too. Okay, and but thing is, she's watching a Marx film called Love Happy because man's in it for only 10 seconds. Okay, but it mentions her love of Marilyn Monroe, just kind of random. This teenage girl loving Marilyn Monroe. Hey, classic. Book came out in 1990. I think this was when okay, Marilyn was having her big kind of revival. She was kind of being noticed more. Right, right. She always put films with Marilyn Monroe in them. Rachel had half a dozen videotapes full of them, but she couldn't tape this one because they hadn't rented a new video yet either. Life more preferable is you could watch Gentlemen Prefer Blondes or that sad haunting one, The Misfits. Some Like a Hot was on BBC One tomorrow night and she watched that again and she already seen it 28 times. Hey, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. So the fog comes down. Their dad, who's starting this job at this weather station, goes off. They meet Stone, the tramp. He is called a tramp. He gives them directions. He actually hops in and shows them and kind of disappears into the fog again. Then Stone like reappears later on. And it's this weird kind of exposition, okay, going on in London in Parliament to what's going on with these two kids, okay, with Rachel and Matt. And it doesn't mesh. It doesn't mesh at all. I mean, this is a book for teenagers, for God's sake. I can't believe, okay, they would even give a toss, okay, about what's going on in Parliament at this time. But this is what the author's written. That's why I think it's like two different stories as a can be meshed together, but it just doesn't work. Okay, right. Matt put the TV news on. Okay. As the fog covering the entire nation enters its fourth day, we listen to the new fears about its causes and we interview people who remember the last 4 day fog, or London to a standstill in the 50s. But first of all, the latest news, virtually all major roads across the country now closed, a result of the foggiest conditions on record in this country. Dry network is running very limited service as poor visibility slows trains down. Death caused by the severe weather is now total over 200, with thousands more injured in road accidents. More and more people are missing, believed to be lost in the fog. Right. So yeah, so in this 4 day fog so far, thousands of people have died in said fog. They're normally they say just don't leave, okay, but this is a time, okay, we couldn't work from home. So you had to go into the office. And this bit here, okay, he finds out that the Prime Minister, who's kind of coming on this kind of reputation of being like this kindly soul, even though in reality he's a bit of a dick, okay, the Prime Minister. When he comes down to London, he says, "We'll get me a carriage. If it's going to be public transport, I want my own carriage. Okay, I don't want to share it with the players, basically the peasants." That's his attitude. So he comes down into London with Parliament and, you know, communicate what to do about this fog. And it turns out it's an act of espionage. It's an act of, if you don't sort this government out, it's we will continue this fog. Basically, they're trying to bring down the government. They're trying to bring down the government with this fog. Right. Okay. I love this. Right. They call themselves the National Environment Party. They say we have no chance of working out how they're controlling the weather, and that it will get worse until we hand over power. Right. The Prime Minister was incredulous. Hand over power in this day and age, impossible. What do they really want? Everything. They want us to hand over the government, armed police, forces, you name it. They came to have support in every party, every organisation. Okay. Well, who is it? The Libyans, Iran? The Home Secretary shook his head. And I think it's mostly British. We only have one name, it's enough. The man who called was Tom Braxton. The bastard. I couldn't believe it actually was in this book. The bastard. That's a swear word in the kids' book in this time period. Tom Braxton had been sacked from his cabinet 2 years earlier. He'd once been a favourite, but he'd gone too far. He's in the press consistently taking extreme positions, calling for policies too radical for any government to adopt publicly. The abolition of state control, the health service and social security. When as Minister of Defence, he called for massive rearmament and a reintroduction of the national service. It signed a suicide note. Right. So that's the thing. National service was something that they used to do. They used to basically, after leaving school, do national service for 2 years. A lot of people say, okay, they want it back. But this is a thing, I mean, this whole kind of turning over power to the government. This is a thing which a lot of people would be happy about. But his ideas are too extreme. Okay, he wants national service back, he wants rearmament, he wants this, he wants that. His ideas are too extreme. Put them no different, okay, where people who, when people go to protest, okay, like blocking the roads, that kind of thing, who suffers, okay? It's the people, okay, who can't get to work. It's the working classes, right? So, there's pretty much different now between these people who protest now, okay, and the people in this book. Radical to the extreme. Protest if you want, okay, but just don't block roads, okay? You can't talk, okay, about I want to stop pollution when you're stopping cars from going when they are, okay? There's cars at a standstill and they're still polluting, right? Here you go. And set this time period very, very much. This is when, okay, the Prime Minister is talking to Braxton, okay, over the phone. And this is very, very much of his time as well. So this bit here, okay? This is when Braxton and the Prime Minister are talking. Some of my colleagues have much more moderate reputations. We have many friends there. Talking about, do you really imagine our European American allies will let you get away with this? Do you really want any country? Do you imagine any country will start a war to restore your government? Who would you call on? South Africa? It's only a few years, okay, literally just after the end of apartheid, okay. Nelson Mandela had just been released, okay, just recently, historically. So, yes. So, as kid, there's no point in continuing the line discussion, right? So, yeah, so the entire country is on standstill. And so Rachel and Matt go on this journey to find their father at this weather station. Stone shows up, and Stone absolutely takes over. Stone, they think, is in his 70s when they first meet, but they have to start cleaning him up. They cut his hair, they put him in nicer clothes. He's got to like pretend to get get food, like just checkpoints. He can't do that the way he's dressed, so he's cleaned up nicely. And it turns out that Stone is exactly the way he is, okay? And it turns out that he was left disabled in the Falklands War. That was a war back in the 80s, and the Tristan. Okay, was it the Falklands War? Aye. The other teams blew it up, but after it landed, there was no warning. I read it in a book. Right. Stone nodded and was quiet for a moment. They looked away. They had us waiting around for ages. The lads had started unloading. I was below when it started. Some of them who died might have had a chance, only the army forgot to issue us with anti-flash masks. Mine was one of the lucky ones. Most of the burns are only second degree. Right. Then, okay, the boys get flying. In, they'd smoke, fully got the survivors out. I was in hospital at St. Carlos for a while, then they sent me home and pensioned me off. Yeah, that was a thing. So that was him. So it's quite interesting too, okay, because Stone would be disillusioned with the government after what he went through due to the Falklands War. However, he's still stepping up because he recognises against radical extremism to the worst. So he's stepping up to help these kids because he's seen death and destruction on such a level that doesn't want to happen to everyone else. Even though this man who's known as Stone, okay, his name is Michael Stone, he just doesn't want anyone to suffer like he had. Right. He doesn't want anyone else to be victims in this, the way he was a victim. And one thing I actually also did, like, it raised a smile to my lips, okay, is the Queen. The Queen of England's coming, obviously, because it's before her passing, 1990s after all. And this is when, okay, they want the Queen to leave Buckingham Palace, and it's like, the Queen is like, my place is here. Your Majesty, I will allow for the possibility that they will succeed. We don't know how strong they are, how many traitors are supporting them. Should they take over, they could imprison you, force you to recognise their government. So it will store by the role of the monarchy until now Prime Minister. If you're unsure of your own colleagues, it's his time may have come for you to step down. If you tend to stay, I suggest that you form a temporary coalition with the other parties. The conspirator will find it harder to discredit such a coalition. In the meantime, you have my support, but I stay here. So what they're going to do is take the other political parties, all of them, and make them one big government. That's what they're going to do. They're not going to disarm the government or get rid of the government. Essentially, all the political parties are going to come together to form this one big party. That's the plan. And this is also why martial law has descended on the country. Right. And so, but the thing is, just for this decay between the parties and Stone, mention this bit here, okay? Right. Because Stone is arrested also, okay, because he's a criminal. And you find out why he's a criminal. Right. When I was at the hospital, they had this big march, see, a victory parade, not before the Queen, mind you. It was Thatcher and her cronies. A few of us wanted to go along, show them what the war was really like. They could hardly refuse, but they kept us out of the sight. The maimed, the useless. Rejoice, she said. When I got out, I went back north. There was no job, so I drank my pension, started wandering. Haven't stopped yet. Yeah, haven't stopped yet. But this whole coalition thing isn't working, so they're going to hand over the government. And Matt and Rachel break into the railway station. They find out who's doing it. They need to get to London to let them know this is where it's happening, so you can stop them. Stone is actually killed in the process. A lot of people are killed, Stone included. But they have to get to London to let them know what is going on. This book is just all over the place. Okay? Right. And they're going to hand over the government. They're going to hand over the government again to Tom Braxton. And this bit here. Right. My colleagues and I intend to call ourselves a New Environment Party. We'll restore form of democracy as soon as we can. In the meantime, movement about the country will still be restricted, other family employment purposes. The media will also work under certain constraints so that we can ensure a quick return to normality. Now's the time to rejoice. Right. That's the thing. That's what the Prime Minister is going to do. Right. But the whole thing, okay, this new party, okay, no more Labour Dem, Lib Dems, Labour Conservative, whatever, okay, there's gonna from a one big monarchy, so one big party, okay, they still have martial law and still everything will be restricted. That makes no sense. Nothing in this book makes sense. Okay, fine, the fog is eventually lifted and then they cremate Stone and scatter his ashes. But this book made zero sense. It wasn't even good. It wasn't even good. It made zero sense whatsoever. Okay? Just Rachel on this, driving a car trying to get this information, and she finds it quickly. Okay, didn't get onto London. Stone dies. I got nothing from this book. It's not even for a book written in the 1990s. It's a very digs okay about government, but the audience, which would have been a teenager at this time, they would have given a toss about this. Okay, maybe if you're politically active, but this was a thing aimed at teenagers. But it's like the authors stopping any tension or any drama to turn around again and say, well, apartheid sucks. It definitely did, right? And Thatcher sucks. Yeah, she definitely did, right? All political parties send Ben into battle. That sucks too. You can't. It's just felt like a rant. The author was just ranting at the system instead of actually giving us something decent. This book is not good. Okay, now I've got to give a book's written like came out in 1990s when Thatcher actually was still in power a bit of leeway, if you will. But is it any good? It had a good narrative? No. What it was, okay, was a teenage girl, okay, like Marilyn Monroe. Hey, great, she's great too. I'm signing off here. Bye now.